Pola is a powerful, intelligent and robust tool built for clinical analysis of GP data based on the Click Analytics platform. It's built on a relational data model which allows for a greater degree of freedom in working with your data. Pola also includes mapping for a variety of data types, including diagnosis, medications, pathology and radiology, allowing you to work on a single standardized dataset. It includes development focused on 3 core activity types, being patient-centered care, business development, and data quality or quality improvement. Pola requires only a single installation in your practice, which then allows you to use it at any PC within the same network. It also does not store or access patient-identified data anywhere outside of the clinic. Hummingbird is the brains behind the Pola tool, and it's what is installed in your practice. It extracts the data from your clinical database, removing all patient identifying information and storing it locally with an encrypted hash key for later re-identification. This is in an encrypted database locally within your practice. Hummingbird then forwards the de-identified dataset along with the linkage key to the Pola data warehouse, where the data is kept within an accredited and secure data centre based here in Melbourne. From here, the Click Analytics platform then accesses the data overnight, loading it into your report for access in your practice. When you load the Pola report, the data is then streamed into your practice, where the Hummingbird tool then re-identifies the patient data using the linkage key and displays the report via your browser window. As part of this process, your PHN will then get access to practice-level aggregate data for the purposes of population health planning and reporting. The technical benefits of Pola include no identified data is stored or accessed outside of the practice, meaning your data is secure. A single installation grants access to all PCs within the same network. Analysis is performed at our Pola data centre, meaning there's no performance impact on your local systems. All updates to reports are run on the Pola Click infrastructure, meaning you'll always have access to the most up-to-date version. Extraction of data is done incrementally every 5 minutes, with most practices taking under a minute per update. Alternatively, a scheduler is available for out-of-hours extractions, and this is all done via a no-lock SQL methodology, ensuring that your patient records are available to you throughout the process. And lastly, your de-identified data is automatically aggregated for use by your PHN without leaving the security of the Pola data centre, supporting future data sharing requirements such as the PIP-QI and other PHN-funded projects. Mapping is an integral part of the Pola suite. Pola maps GP diagnosis, including free text, into the SNOMED clinical terminology system. Using these SNOMED codes, Pola then groups the diagnoses into clinically recognisable categories. Additionally, the SNOMED codes are then mapped into chronic disease using the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare's classifications, allowing you to quickly identify your chronic disease cohort. All Pola mapping is kept up to date with the support of clinicians and final year medical students. Pola also allows us to look at medications that are mapped against the World Health Organization's ATC classification system. ATC allows us to look at medications at 3 levels, high, medium and low, allowing us to do things such as look at our drugs of the nervous system, drilling down on our antidepressants, and finally looking specifically at those drugs that form part of the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor groupings. And from here we can actually select the patients on individual brand or generic medication level. Pathology is also mapped in Pola, utilising the LOINC codes that are returned by the labs and placed into clinically recognisable groups such as HbA1c. This can be quickly used to filter down on the test results that fit under that category. A similar mapping is in the final stages of development for radiology to be released in 2019. Let's take a look now at how we can use Pola within the practice. The first example we're going to look at is identifying patients due for cervical screening. Now for this particular topic we've already got a dashboard made for it, so we'll just navigate to cervical screening. And here we can see the breakdown of exactly what the eligibility criteria used is in the system. For this page there is a quick selector for these patients, and we can see now we've got about 3,700 patients, and we can open up that patient list for export. The next activity we're going to look at is identifying patients who we suspect might have diabetes who don't currently have an active diabetes diagnosis. For this we're going to use the Diabetes Quality Improvement page. And there's a range of activities that are included on this page. But for the most part, we're going to be looking at the indicators in the top right hand corner. Specifically, the top one there is those patients who have a suspected diagnosis. So down here you can see what we have recorded, and those aren't specifically diagnoses, they're suspected ones. Next is those patients who are on a diabetes medication who don't currently have a diagnosis recorded. And then finally, under that group as well, we're looking at those patients with a high HbA1c recording at some stage who, again, have not had a diabetes diagnosis recorded. Each of these will allow you to export to patients for action when you see them next time in the practice. Lastly, we're going to look at one that's a little more complicated, looking at patients with hypertension who are currently on one of these medications with a last recorded systolic blood pressure of 140 or higher. So the first thing that we're going to do is add in our patient active status. So we're looking at just our active patients. Next, we're going to go to the diagnosis page. From here, we can use the SNOMED terminology to pick out our patients with hypertension. And you can see the list of GP entered diagnosis there. And the blue bar allows us to select our active diagnoses only. Next, we're going to go across to the prescriptions page and look at our medications. For this example, we're going to use our medium level filters to be able to pull up our medications. Firstly, we're going to look at patients who are currently on a medication. From here, we're going to select our ACE inhibitors, both combination and plain. We're going to look at our beta block agents, our low ceiling diuretics, which are the thiazides, and we're also going to look at our selective calcium channel agents as well. So we can see we've got all of those there. The next thing we're going to do is head across to our risk factors page, and this will show us our most recent systolic blood pressure recording. And from here, we're going to select our patients with 140 or higher. And we can see that those are the patients that we want to look at who aren't currently being adequately controlled by their medication. In terms of the support and education you expect to receive as part of this process, we do have monthly Q&A webinars, a number of polar walkthroughs, some how-to guides and videos, an online knowledge base, and of course, with your PHN, we'll be running localized workshops. Current projects that we have in place, we have our ongoing mapping enhancements, as well as QIPIP reports and reporting, a business-centered report looking at business development activities, and Polar Walrus, which will be our point-of-care patient support tool, and that will run on your desktop. So just from all of us here, thanks for watching today. We hope you decide to join the Polar family. If you do, please let your PHN representative know. But from all of us here, thanks for watching. Have a great day.